To start with the discussion, there are 51-year-old man presents to the hospital with a swollen hand as shown in the photograph. He was doing gardening at the country yard yesterday and had multiple index finger injury. So the injury is showing the history of trauma. So there is left hand is tender, swollen and redness. The three cardinal features that are erythema, warm and swelling for the cellulitis. On examination, blood pressure is 134 by 78, pulse is 88, and respiratory rate of 16 breaths per minute, and temperature of 38.1 degrees centigrade. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step in the management? While solving the MCQs, the most important thing is the last step. What is the question of that MCQ that is expected from you to be answered? So it is the most important next step in the management. So you have to see the what is this scenario all about. This is all about for the cellulitis, and he's asking about the management. So as for the routine OPD patients, the options are ultrasound of the hand, MRI of the hand, admission to the hospital, commencement of IV antibiotics, CT of the hand, discharge him home, or oral antibiotic review in the 48 to 24 to 48 hours. This is a straightforward scenario of cellulitis. So you will discharge the patient on home on oral antibiotic with a 24 to 48 hours surveillance. What are the points in the favor of cellulitis? Against the three cardinal features of cellulitis were redness, temperature, and swelling that were clearly mentioned in the scenario. And it's a clinical diagnosis. There was no need of imaging, ultrasound, CT scan, or MRI. There are two categories about the cellulitis. One is the streptococcal infection, and one is the staph infection. If the patient is giving the history of non-purulent infection, this is most likely the organism is streptococcal, and if it is purulent, then staphylococcal. This it is an important point regarding the scenario or MCQ. Next comes the treatment of this. If the patient is vitally stable and he has no alarming sign or symptom for admission, the patient can be discharged on the oral antibiotic, like in this case. But the patient is having any two of the following cardinal feature, then he needs admission or the IV antibiotic. The cardinal features are temperature more than 38 degrees centigrade or less than 36 degrees centigrade in the form of hyper and hypothermia, or the patient is taking tachycardia or tachypnea, 90 beats per minute and 20 respiratory rate, or the patient is having WBC of greater than 12 or less than 4 or 10% immature band cells. These are all the indication for the IV antibiotics, or two features must be present to start the IV antibiotic or admit the patient into the hospital. But there are some features. If they are present as a single feature, then the patient needs IV antibiotic. These features are intolerant to the oral therapy, or the immunocompromised patient, or the comorbid condition like diabetes which impair the healing process of the cellulitis, or the patient who are lost their follow-up. So whenever you would discharge the patient on the oral antibiotic, it is very important to follow the patient 24 to 48 hours later to see the response of the patient. So those patients who are unable to follow up, that need IV admissions or IV antibiotic or the admissions. Next MCQ is 7-year-old leave proud to the general practice for the mother who is concerned about the rash who has developed as shown in the following photograph. The rash appeared almost 2 months ago with the abdomen spread to the extent evidence in this photo. There is no complaint of pain or itching, and there are few lesions that have ulcerated in the photograph. She is otherwise healthy. No other serious illness so far. Her growth charts are all normal. Physical examination is normal. She goes to the school and she has two younger brothers and sisters at home. Which of the following is correct diagnosis? You can see in the picture there are different very shiny pearly dome shaped lesions, and some of these lesions are ulcerated. And if you zoom the picture or magnify the picture, you can see the central umbilication in each of these lesions. So these pearly white dome shaped lesions with the central umbilications are indicated of MCs or molluscum contagiosum that are very much evident from the picture itself. And the scenario is also very clear cut. These MCs are although contagious, but the patient does not need isolation. So the patient, the first option, she should be excluded from the school until the resolution of the rash. This is not the true option. So she can go to school but should be separated towel and other personal item. This is the correct option. Other, she should be given oral acyclovir. No, because this is a benign self-limiting condition that resolves in about 3 to 6 months, and some of the patient needs 3 years for the resolution. Cryotherapy with the liquid nitrogen is the treatment of choice. It's not the treatment of choice, but it's one of the treatment choice. She should use topical steroid. No. So the justification of this question is it's a pearly dome-shaped papule with a central umbilication. It is basically caused by the pox virus. Mollusky pox spirochetes, and it is about 1 to 3 millimeter in diameter, 1 to 2 centimeter, can be enlarged due to coalescing small lesions. Incubation period is 2 to 26 weeks, and the lesions heal itself. The problem is that when there is a development of eczema in the surrounding skin, it can make the diagnosis less clear or it can complicate the lesion. So you have to treat the eczema as well with the topical corticosteroids. Otherwise, the lesions are self-limiting. Uh, One most important thing about the MCs is that the lesions may occur in the anogenital area and they are not usually associated with sexual abuse of the child. They can occur on the eyelid margins and cause the conjunctivitis. So it's a benign lesion, healing in about 3 to 6 months without any scarring, spontaneous resolution, and other options are incorrect in this case. Children with the MCs do not require isolation or exclusion from the school. It is better to avoid sharing towels or bathing together, which may increase the risk of spread to the brothers or sister in the other children. And whenever there is associated eczema, you have to use the topical steroids for the treatment of eczema as well. Next is 60-year-old male, which is John, presents to your office because of the concern about the skin lesion on the forearm. Dermoscopy is shown in this figure. Which of the following is most likely diagnosis? On dermoscopy, you can see this is very clear-cut picture of the plaque because it's a raised lesion. On the plaque is showing a stuck-on appearance, like something is just on the skin, which no underlying feature. And there are different lesions which are seen as a keratotic plug. So these are all features of SK, seborrheic keratosis. This seborrheic keratosis is seen in the older patients with the sun exposed areas, and its incidence increases with the increasing age. So these are all the features favoring seborrheic keratosis. Keratotic plug is very important clue for the diagnosis of seborrheic keratosis because one of the mimicker actinic keratosis has the same history, like it is due to sun exposed area in older men, but it's scaly, not in stuck on appearance that typical for the seborrheic keratosis. And actinic keratosis is very important to diagnose because it's a precancerous condition and that has a tendency to form the squamous cell carcinoma. This is a picture showing actinic keratosis. It has very flat appearance and it's mostly on the dorsum of the hands and feet and on the sun exposed area. Due to flat and scaly features, you can recognize actinic keratosis. Next is the Bowen disease. Bowen disease is also on sun exposed or sun damaged area. It's also a precancerous condition, but Bowen disease is a very well demarcated condition. It has a well demarcated borders like this lesion. It has a very well demarcated scaly lesion. You can recognize it as Bowen disease. Melanoma is very important thing to remember because it has irregular border and the variation in the shape and color of the lesion which hints towards the melanoma. And the melanoma also lacks keratotic plug, which is a feature of seborrheic keratosis as discussed earlier. These are the two terms which are discussed in options. One is the DPN, which is dermatosis papulosa nigra, and one is the stucokeratosis. The both conditions are the variants of SK. So these are the variants of SK. So both have stuck-on appearance. DPN is basically in black African middle-aged females, and the stucokeratosis is just like a plaster of Paris. It has a gray to light brown keratotic surface and has stuck-on appearance that are present on the feet, ankle, back of hands, and forearms. Next comes 60-year-old man presents to the clinic with a complaint of fever and painful swollen right thigh. He has diabetes, well controlled on the metformin, 500 milligram 8 hourly, and the hypertension for which he is taking Valsartan 8 milligram daily. He is on atorvastatin 20 milligram daily for the hypercholesterolemia as well. His recent medical history is remarkable for the DVT of the right leg, which is currently on warfarin therapy. So the patient already has a provoking factor of DVT and he is taking anti-thrombotic treatment in the form of warfarin. 1 week ago, he was admitted to hospital about one episode of syncope and started on amiodarone, from which he was diagnosed as VT. So, an important risk factor for the DVT is there, which is VT. Physical examination is remarkable for the temperature of 38.3 degrees centigrade and warm, swollen, tender right thigh, which is erythematous. So this scenario is a very typical example of the scenario in which some information is excessive, or you can say distractors. So DVT, warfarin, VT, these are all the distractors of this MCQ. You have to focus on the clinical cardinal features, which is warmth, tender, and erythema. And this is a clue for the cellulitis. This is a clear-cut picture of the cellulitis. Right thigh circumference is 3 centimeter greater than that of left thigh. Which of the following would be most likely cause of this presentation? So answer is your cellulitis. At a first glance, the number of differential diagnoses of the painful swollen include DVT, cellulitis, and hematoma. But in the presence of a patient is already taking warfarin, it is very unlikely that the patient develop DVT again. So this is a distractor, and in the presence of amiodarone results in the decreased metabolism of warfarin through the hepatic pathway, which lead to increased bleeding tendency. Rest of the information is just additional information. You can skip it. If we talk about the cellulitis or erysipelas, this is from JM textbook of AMC. The causative organism is Streptococcal pyogenes and Staph aureus, as already discussed. Other organism in immunocompromised patients is the Haemophilus influenza, Aeromonas, and fungal infection. Predisposing factor are cuts, abrasions, ulcers, insect bite, foreign material, IV drug abusers, or the eczema, tinea pedis. You have to what you have to do. You have to look for the diabetes whenever there is a case of cellulitis is present. Then rest is very important. Elevate the REM. Use the paracetamol and aspirin for the wound control. If there is streptococcal infection, use penicillin. If there is staph infection, use flucloxacillin. So this is all about cellulitis. Next MCQ is about 65-year-old man presents with exquisitely painful vesicular rash. He presented 7 days before and increasingly painful. The rash is shown in the following photograph. His past medical history is unremarkable. Physical examination is otherwise inconclusive. Which of the following is the most appropriate immediate management? From this picture, it is very much clearly evident that the rash is not for just crossing the midline. It's following a single dermatomal distribution, and it's a vesicular rash. If you zoom the picture, this is a clear-cut vesicular rash. Different vesicles in coalescing to form a band-like distribution. So it is a very clear case of shingles, which is a herpes zoster infection due to reactivation of the varicella zoster virus in the dorsal root ganglion. It's a viral infection due to varicella zoster virus, and it needs antiviral. But for the antiviral to be commenced, the patient should present within 72 hours of window period. But the patient is presenting past 7 days, so antiviral is not the option. Here, the main concern is post-herpetic neuralgia, which is the pain. So it's a tricky question, and we will select the answer amitriptyline, which is a TCA, for the treatment of post-herpetic neuralgia. So appearance of rash in this history is suggestive of herpes zoster virus infection. Herpes zoster virus infection is due to reactivation of varicella zoster virus. It occurs in adults, in children, as well as first 2 years of life. In the maternal varicella infection is present. TCA and anticonvulsant gabapentin are the most effective medication for the pain control in neuropathic pain associated with the shingles. Antivirals such as famciclovir, valciclovir, acyclovir should be used in any patient within 72 hours of the onset of vesicles in patient with the ophthalmic. This is very important for the MCQ point of view, that window period is 72 hours. But if the patient is having ophthalmic herpes zoster or the patient is immunocompromised, then you have to give the patient antiviral treatment whatever the duration is. The antiviral is must. Varicella zoster immunoglobulins are for the prophylaxis of the patients before development of the zoster. In this patient already has developed zoster, so varicella zoster immunoglobulin is not the option. Promethazine is antihistamine or the for itch therapy. This is not for the shingles control. Then Jane, 53-year-old, presented to GP practice with a facial weakness, right ptosis, and drooling of the right corner of the mouth since morning. She mentions that the history of right ear pain a few days earlier on examination, erythematous vesicular rash is noted in the right ear canal. Which of the following would be the most appropriate next step in the management? This is a scenario of the Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, which is the involvement of the facial nerve due to the varicella lesions into the your shingle lesions into your ear canal. So antiviral is the right option here. You can see Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is the diagnosis. It is defined as acute peripheral facial neuropathy due to reactivation of latent varicella zoster virus infection. The syndrome is associated with erythematous vesicular rash of the skin of the ear canal auricle, known as herpes zoster orticus, or the oropharyngeal mucous membrane. The varicella zoster remains latent in the neurons of the dorsal root ganglia, and whenever it is reactivated, it forms shingle. The classical triad is ipsilateral facial palsy, ear pain, and vesicles in the auditory canal and auricle. In some patients, taste perception and hearing and lacrimation can be disturbed as well. The symptoms of the clinical manifestation of Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is vesicular rash of ear and mouth, or the patient is having the onset of facial nerve palsies. There is ipsilateral lower motor neuron palsy, vertigo, ipsilateral hearing loss, tinnitus, hyperacusis, otalgia, headaches, dysarthria, gait ataxia, fever, cervical lymphadenopathy can be there, and there may be involvement of the other cranial nerves as well, which is cranial nerve 8, 9, 10, 5, and 11, 5 and 6. Antiviral treatment should be started in all patients within 72. This is the same window period that for other shingles as well. For the onset of rash, the time limit does not apply to the patient with a herpes zoster, ophthalmicus, and immunocompromised patient, as discussed already. Antiviral can be given beyond the 72 hours of presentation. Acyclovir is preferred treatment for the children and pregnant women. This is also an MCQ as well. So other important thing is that for the prevention of zoster virus, you have to give single varicella zoster vaccine in the form of Zostavax name. Next is a 2-year-old boy is brought to the emergency department by the mother after he developed a rash following a bee sting 20 minutes ago. Appearance of the rash is shown in the following photograph. On examination, there is no breathlessness. This is very important because he does not have any breathlessness, wheezing, abdominal pain, or hemodynamic instability. This is showing the patient is not in anaphylaxis. This is just a simple urticaria as shown in this figure. So the treatment would be just antihistamine because it's a simple case of urticaria. This is a hypersensitivity reaction. Whenever there is a hypersensitivity, you have to focus on the airway, breathing, and circulation ABC to see the patient is in vitally stable or not. In this scenario, the patient is vitally stable, so treatment would be antihistamine. If the patient comes with the anaphylaxis or angioedema, the signs of erythema or flushing will be there, or there will be sign of acute onset illness or some compromise like cardiorespiratory or persistent GI symptoms. In this case, adrenaline autoinjector, intramuscular EpiPen or Anapen will be the right option. If there is no response to antihistamine, the next preferred option is oral corticosteroid in this case. Next comes a 17-year-old girl presents to GP practice with the redness and swelling of the sun-exposed area of the face after 60 minutes in the sun. She is on treatment for the acne, and on examination, erythema and edema of the sun-exposed area of the face, neck, and chest are noted. There are bulla all over the area. Which of the following is most likely diagnosis? As the patient is taking some treatment for the acne, and after taking the treatment, he is developed on the bulla on the sun-exposed area. It's showing that there is some phototoxicity or photosensitivity due to some agent. The most likely treatment of acne that is causing phototoxicity is your doxycycline and isotretinoin. Isotretinoin is not mentioned in the option, so doxycycline will be the right option here. The scenario describes a typical case of photosensitivity reaction due to medication drug-induced photoeruption. There are two forms of photoeruption, either phototoxic eruptions or photoallergic reactions. Phototoxic due to absorption of UV light directly by the drug or it causing cell damage, and there will be blister formation like in this scenario. The drugs can be remembered by the mnemonic no sunlight to the photosensitive or phototoxic queen. No for NSAIDs, sunlight for sulfonamides, 2 for tetracycline, tretinoin, thiazide diuretics, and tinea treatment in the form of chrysophyllin. Phototoxic is for phenothiazines and queen is for quinidine. So by this easy mnemonic, you can remember all the phototoxic drugs. Photoallergy is whenever there is eczema-like reaction after the exposure of UV radiation, there is going to be photoallergic reaction. Photoallergic reaction is due to some fragrances or like musk ambre or the 6-methylcoumarins. Some photoallergens are also like phenothiazines, chlorpromazine, or sulfur drug, but they are more likely to produce phototoxic reaction rather than photoallergic reactions. So this is all about the MCQs for dermatology. Next, we will continue in the next session.